to join us. And we are so lucky and thankful to have the lovely Rina on with us tonight. Before I let her take it away, I am going to maybe briefly share my screen if this works. And throw this up. You should see Rina's lovely face on the screen right now. So thank you all for coming tonight. For anyone on who does not know me, I'm Alex Herron, the Assistant Director of Alumni and Parent Engagement at Stetson. That on the screen is just a couple of the things I get to do in the office. I work with Rina and our admissions team on accepted student receptions, which are awesome. I work with our athletics coaches and staff on reunions, athletic-related alumni events, games, tailgates, all that fun stuff. And then obviously with all that's going on in the world, we kind of had to switch over to a virtual event world for now. So we kind of have put together all these great virtual events, including this one tonight with Rina. And then a couple ways you can actually stay engaged with the office right now, even though we can't have in-person events. And I'll drop these in the chat box as well. The first one is our webinar interest form we kind of created, and that your feedback on that kind of helps us build all the future content that comes out of the office. So we look at that form and the results every week. We take all that data and build out the future events. So whatever events you want to see from the alumni office in the future, take the time to fill out that form. We really appreciate it. Another way to stay involved with the office right now is checking out our website where you can see all the upcoming events we have, and then updating your alumni profile. You got a new job, got married, anything fun or exciting like that, update your info and let us know. We'd love to stay up to date with what you've got going on. And finally in here, if I can get this to work, sometimes technology is not my friend, housekeeping notes on Zoom. So if you've been on any of our educational webinars, we use a different platform for those. And on Zoom, obviously you can control when your camera and microphone are turned on and off. We do ask that while Rina's presenting tonight, if you could keep your microphones muted while she goes through her presentation, just to prevent any kind of feedback while she's talking. But feel free at the end or whenever you want to turn it on really quick. If you have a question, raise your hand or drop it in the chat box. We'll keep an eye on that and kind of help everybody with that. And with that, I will turn it over to Rina and let her take it away tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. And I just want to thank you and Becca and Woody, who is supposed to be on the call, who actually convinced me to do this. Woody said, you know, Rina, you're always talking about positive energy and positive this. You should read this. You should read that. He said, well, why don't you do a webinar and get folks online and talk about your favorite books? And so first I said no, then I said yes, and here I am. Thanks to Alex for setting this up. And I told Alex that I really wanted to do it in a Zoom format because I want this to be interactive. And when you saw everybody on the screen, this is a group that all of you have beautiful spirits. So I think this is going to be an incredible conversation. And I'm just going to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned throughout my life that have been taught to me through books that really appeared in my life when I needed them most. And those of you who know me know that I believe that things happen for a reason. Most of the time, they have in my life, I can say that. And so I'm just going to share a little bit of wisdom that I think I've gained through some of my favorite books. Most of the things I love to read and listen to, I mostly listen to books on Audible, are about positive psychology and law of attraction, because it's really helped me to change my life. And I'll share just a few short stories as we go through. I'm also going to share some clips from some of the books so you can hear the authors. If you have Audible, it might inspire you to get some of these books. And we'll just go through it together. And I told Alex, if people have comments and they want to ask questions, or if you've read the book and you want to add something, let's have it be free flowing. You can use the chat function and Alex will stop me, or you can just interrupt, okay? So what I ask of all of you tonight is just to open your heart and mind and come together tonight with love as the intention, because in my life, I've found that there's two things. There's either fear or there's love. And when you're operating in love, your life can be beautiful. When you're operating in fear, your life gets very difficult. So that's my constant mantra, is trying to stay in the love and in the light. So that's just my thoughts. So the first book, Alex, if you can turn the slide, we're going to talk about is the Book of Joy. don't you just love that picture to the left? This book, I think at this moment in time in our world where we all need some joy, we're living in difficult times, and it can be easy to get sucked into that agony, the fear, the anxiety, and not keep yourself healthy inside. While those difficult things are real and they're happening, we can keep the inside of us healthy and well. This is an absolutely precious book. And a lot of these books were recommended to me on my travels for Stetson. So when I visit alumni and parents, they'll give me little nuggets. And this book reminded me of Mike Egan, who is a Stetson alum and a Stetson dad. His daughter, Mara, went to Stetson. And when I was up there, he told me about a book. And one of the main themes was follow your bliss. If you follow your bliss in life, how can you go wrong? And so this book reminded me of that. So the Book of Joy is a conversation between the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop Desmond Tutu about joy and happiness, and how do you find it in the face of suffering and grief. The two old friends in this book met in India, where the Dalai Lama was living, and it was his 80th birthday. And they had a long discussion over several days about one question, and that was, how do we find joy? So I'll play this first clip.
One great question underlies our existence. What is the purpose of life? After much consideration, I believe that the purpose of life is to find happiness. It does not matter whether one is a Buddhist, like me, or a Christian, like the Archbishop, or any other religion, or no religion at all. From the moment of birth, every human being wants to discover happiness and avoid suffering. No differences in our culture or our education or our religion affect this. From the very core of our being, we simply desire joy, but so often these feelings are fleeting and hard to find, like a butterfly that lands on us and then flutters away. The ultimate source of happiness is within us, not money, not power, not status. Some of my friends are billionaires, but they're very unhappy people. Power and money fail to bring inner peace. Outward attainment will not bring real inner joyfulness. We must look inside. Sadly, many of the things that undermine our joy and happiness we create ourselves. Often it comes from the negative tendencies of the mind, emotional reactivity, or from our inability to appreciate and utilize the resources that exist within us. The suffering from a natural disaster we cannot control, but the suffering from our daily disasters we can. We create most of our suffering, so it should be logical that we also have the ability to create more joy. It simply depends on the attitudes, and the reactions we bring to situations and to our relationships with other people. When it comes to personal happiness, there is a lot that we as individuals can do.
We lurched forward as the brake seized the tires, and then the plane rumbled and shook, stopping quickly on the short runway. Out the window of the airplane, we could see the Dalai Lama standing on the tarmac, a large yellow umbrella held over his head to protect him from the bright Indian sun. He was wearing his maroon robe and red shawl, although we could see a small patch of saffron yellow on his sleeveless vest. An entourage of office staff and airport officials in suits flanked him. Indian soldiers in khaki uniforms were providing security. The media had been kept outside of the airport. This was going to be an intimate reunion, with only the Dalai Lama's personal photographer taking pictures. As the Archbishop hobbled down the steep stairs in his blue blazer and signature fisherman's cap, the Dalai Lama approached. The Dalai Lama was smiling, his eyes sparkling behind his large square-framed glasses. He bowed low, and then the Archbishop spread his arms out, and they embraced. They separated and held each other's shoulders, gazing into each other's eyes, as if trying to convince themselves that they were really together again.
I haven't seen you in a long while.
Archbishop Tutu touched the Dalai Lama's cheeks tenderly with the tips of his fingers and inspected him closely.
You look very good.
The Dalai Lama, still holding the Archbishop's small shoulders, puckered as if to blow him a kiss. The Archbishop raised his left hand, gold wedding ring shining, and clasped the Dalai Lama's chin as one might do to one's precious grandchild. Then the Archbishop went in for a kiss on the cheek. The Dalai Lama, not used to kisses from anyone, flinched, but also laughed with delight, which was quickly accompanied by the Archbishop's high-pitched cackle.
So what I just love about this book is that you have these two icons, world leaders, who have both suffered really greatly in their lives, and people who they have been with, working through truth and reconciliation, being exiled from Tibet and fearing for your life. And these two men, both in their different ways, so their different faith traditions, Christianity and Buddhism, found pure joy. And this relationship that they have, they had actually only met a couple of times in their lives, but when they got back together again, it was as if they had never, time had not even passed. And it's such a joyful book, and it's a really cool book about introspection and understanding, at least from their perspective and mine, that joy is a choice. You can choose to be happy. You can't control the events that happen around you. You can't control famine. You can't control disease. You can't control unrest in a government, but you can control the way you react. And so that was a first thing that turned on my head, how this, when I start feeling badly or negative about a situation, I can step back. What is the emotion I'm feeling? And I can choose to change that emotion. And if I don't, I continue to feel terrible. And so my emotions are my navigation system to be able to understand if I'm on the right path or not for myself. And I saw Susan's comment about how the author actually looks like Dr. Rolke, our president, and you're right. It does look like him, but it's not. It's Douglas Abrams, who is the narrator, and he's the one who interviewed the two of them for this book. So were there any comments, or anybody want to jump in on that before we go to the next book? Okay, so the next book that I love is called Soulful Simplicity. This book was recommended to me by another alumna. Her name is Stephanie Hollis. She owns Solar Stick in St. Augustine and is also a doctor. And this book came into my life when I really needed to think about the complexity of my life and what was going on. And that I had, again, the choice to make decisions to make myself happy. This book is Marie Kondo on steroids. Have any of you read Marie Kondo? I know Sarah has, because she gave me the book. So it's really Marie Kondo on steroids. And it's a book that I think that so many of us can relate to. So let me play this clip, and then I'm going to tell a little bit of a story about the way these two books have played into my life.
This is Audible.
Blackstone Audio presents Soulful Simplicity, How Living with Less Can Lead to So Much More by Courtney Carver. This book is read by Courtney Carver. For Bailey and Mark.
You know what? It went to the wrong place. Hold on. All right, here it is.
The breakdown.
There we go. This is it.
Doing it all wore me out, and the price I paid was my health. In trying to have it all, I forgot that I already did. I quickly understood how filling every moment of my day with stuff and busyness had made me sick. There is no known cause or cure for multiple sclerosis, but I believe that MS was my body's way of rejecting my lifestyle. The way I was living didn't cause MS, but it exacerbated my symptoms and contributed to relapses. My quest to do it all did not resonate with my heart. When you live or work outside of your heart, there will always be a breakup. a breakdown, or both. Working more, owning more, doing more, and trying to prove to everyone around me that I was more wore me down and literally broke my body. I'll tell you about my diagnosis, but this book isn't about my MS. Instead, it's about the changes and shifts that MS inspired. At first, I thought my disease would ruin everything, but instead, it saved me in every possible way. When I learned how damaging stress is for people with MS, other autoimmune conditions, and all people suffering from pain or sickness, I decided to eliminate as much of it as possible. I wanted to live well with MS, better than how I was living before my diagnosis. Once I intentionally began to slow down and simplify my life, I began to heal. And most of the healing had nothing to do with multiple sclerosis. Through the process of figuring out what my body needed and what my heart wanted, a soulful simplicity quietly emerged as a different way of being.
So this is where a bit of my story begins that really relates to this book. So let's go back about 9 to 10 years ago. And I was thank you, Alex. You can see everybody. Oh, and I wanted to say, I saw that Christian came, Max came, and Danny came. Hi, friends. So some of you may know a bit of this story, but I was worked hard my whole life. I did everything I was supposed to do. Some of you may relate. I'm seeing some smiles. I got married. I had a son, a beautiful son. And I tried to be the perfect daughter, the perfect mother, the perfect wife, and especially the perfect employee. And I had worked my way up at a beautiful school, Stetson University, to Dean of Students and Vice President for Campus Life. Once again, I believe that things in my life have happened for a reason, and I don't regret it for a moment, taking on that position. But I found myself, when I woke up one day, and I was at the pinnacle of my career. I was vice president. My next step would have been presidency if I would have chosen to do that. I had nice clothes. I had a great car. I had a beautiful house. But when I actually sat back and I thought about it and I paid attention to the thoughts in my head, try that sometime. Pay attention to the thoughts in your head for a whole day. 90% of my thoughts were negative. Now, those of you who knew me back then wouldn't have known that because I was a great actor. But I had a lot of very, very negative self-talk going on in my life and in my head. And I realized I was crashing and I was about out of control. And then I reread the book, The Secret by Rhonda Burns. Some of you may know that book. It's a law of attraction book. And it helps me, I see Brian nodding. It helped me to understand that I was not a victim, that I had control of my life. I could make decisions to get out of the place that I had found myself in. I woke up one day and I said, what am I doing? I'm in the hardest job I can imagine. And I'm doing a good job because I have a great work ethic, but I'm miserable. So I decided to take control of my life. And in a 4 months time, I quit my job. Luckily, the president let me have a new one over in development, alumni, and parent engagement, which is what I'm doing now. I love it. But I got out of that job that was sucking my soul, but did feed me good things too. I met many of you through that job, so that was good. It just wasn't the right place for me anymore. I quit my job. I got a divorce, which eventually led me to my soulmate, John, who's sitting over here, my hubby, and Antonio, who's my son there waving, and Sarah. And here's the cool part. Actually making that decision to leave when I was scared helped me to build a beautiful and excellent relationship with my son's father. So that's the beautiful part, because as soon as I turned my thoughts from negative to positive on a consistent basis, including with him, it all began to flow and I began to live. So the next book, anybody have anything they want to chime in? I see some chat stuff, Alex. We good? Oh, hi. Okay.
Good.
All right, so we can go to the next book. It's called The Tao of Pooh. Oh, here we go. So I thought my life was going beautifully, and I thought I had learned the key. It was about living a joyful life, having fun, and just being really happy. My husband, now husband, taught me that life wasn't about trying to be important. And I was just too serious. I was taking myself too seriously. So I really thought that's what it was about. Well, then another book came into my life. I was going along in life, was happy, and then my son Mache went off to college. And for the first time in my life, I found myself alone. So Susan, you get this. I had full Saturdays where I was completely by myself. And I've never, think about this, have you ever just been alone and present? There's always something happening, right? How often are we quiet and present? So I started looking at different texts. I've always been interested in different religions and faith traditions. So I was looking at Buddhism and Taoism, and I was reading a book by Dr. Wayne Dyer, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And it's his interpretation of the Tao Te Ching, which is an ancient Chinese text. And it was very complicated. And one day I was meeting with Lindsay Corelli in Religious and Spiritual Life at Stetson. And she said, oh, you should read the Tao of Pooh. And so I launched into this really, really beautiful book that helped me to understand a little bit more about what was really interesting me about the Tao Te Ching. So I shall play it now.
We will begin with an illustration from the writings of Zhuangzi. On his way back from the Kunlun Mountains, the Yellow Emperor lost the dark pearl of Tao. He sent knowledge to find it, but knowledge was unable to understand it. He sent distant vision, but distant vision was unable to see it. He sent eloquence, but eloquence was unable to describe it. Finally, he sent empty mind, and empty mind came back with the pearl. When Eeyore lost his tail, who found it for him? Clever rabbit? No, he was busy doing clever things. Scholarly owl? No, he didn't recognize it when he saw it. Know-it-all Eeyore? No, he didn't even realize that it was missing until Pooh told him. And even then, it took a while to convince him that the tail was definitely not there. Then Pooh went off to find it. First, he stopped at Owl's house, and Owl told him in 25,000 monotonous words or more that the thing to do would be to issue a reward, which would involve writing out a yawn notice and putting it yawn all over the, oh yes, where were we? All over the forest. And then they went outside. And Pooh looked at the knocker and the notice below it, and he looked at the bell rope and the notice below it. And the more he looked at the bell rope, the more he felt that he had seen something like it somewhere else, some time before. "Handsome bell rope, isn't it?" said Owl. Pooh nodded. "It reminds me of something," he said, "but I can't think what. Where did you get it?" "I just came across it in the forest. It was hanging over a bush, and I thought at first somebody lived there. So I rang it, and nothing happened. And then I rang it again very loudly, and it came off in my hand. And as nobody seemed to want it, I took it home, and..." Aha. So Pooh returned the tail to Eeyore, and after it had been put back in place, Eeyore felt much better. For a while, anyway. An empty sort of mind is valuable for finding pearls and tails and things because it can see what's in front of it. An overstuffed mind is unable to. While the clear mind listens to a bird singing, the stuffed full of knowledge and cleverness mind wonders what kind of bird is singing. The more stuffed up it is, the less it can hear through its own ears and see through its own eyes. Knowledge and cleverness tend to concern themselves with the wrong sorts of things, and a mind confused by knowledge, cleverness, and abstract ideas tends to go chasing off after things that don't matter, or that don't even exist, instead of seeing, appreciating, and making use of what is right in front of it.
So the basis of the Tao Te Ching is where it really helped me was to understand that being quiet and present can be incredibly exhilarating. I started going out for walks and bike rides on the lakefront, and I would just sit and I would clear my mind. I wasn't angry or frustrated about the past. I wasn't worried about the future. I was purely in the moment. I wasn't thinking about anything other than, oh my gosh, I never saw how beautiful this leaf is on this tree, and really taking that in and looking up at the sky, the clear blue sky, and noticing, if you look, there's electricity floating through the sky. There's energy in the sky that I had never noticed before. And I was a 51-year-old woman. It took me this long to slow down and to pay attention and to feel that inner joy that built up within inside of me, because I was purely present. I was so darn busy before, raising my son, becoming the best professional, doing everything I was supposed to do. I didn't take the time to be with myself and with the energy of the universe, or whatever, or God, or whatever you believe in. And when I actually cleared my mind, like they're talk about in the Tao of Pooh, is when miracles truly started to happen in my life. How many of you know these characters? So the clever rabbit is the person who's always running around trying to do everything and make sure they feel okay, because they're trying to fill a void in their life, right? They have a hole, and they're trying to make themselves feel important and that they're okay and they're special, right? That's the rabbit, always running around doing something and not being quiet and present. The scholarly owl that loves knowledge, and there's nothing wrong with loving knowledge, but there's a difference between intelligence and wisdom. And sometimes we get caught as being a scholarly owl and talking to hear ourselves talk and use big words that not a lot of people understand, because it makes us feel whole and complete and better. And then Eeyore, you know, the people that there's always something going wrong, right? I'm reading a book now, which is kind of out there, but it's about how you can become actually addicted. When you have a crisis that's happened in your life, or a trauma, your brain chemistry changes, and you can become addicted to the emotion of the trauma. And so that's where, if you know people that are always sick, they're always talking about being sick, there's always a problem, they kind of thrive in chaos. I truly believe it's kind of an addiction, and you have to break that. But anyway, so I started to see the flowers, the trees, birds started like following me. Like a crow the other day looked me in the eye. Have you ever had a crow look you in the eye? I mean, they're beautiful. And it was like this inner wisdom was coming into me. And it was because I sat there quietly waiting, and it came to me. I see eagles all the time now where I didn't see them before. They're very majestic. And here's two more things, and then we'll go to the next book. Three, actually. I felt the breeze. I truly felt the breeze, and I paid attention to what it felt like, the coolness on my skin. I was present. How many of you get in the shower in the morning and you'll like wash your face, and then you're towards the end of the shower and you're like, oh my gosh, did I wash my face? Did I forget? Did I wash my face? Are you ever really present in the shower and feeling the water running over you? How many of you take a cool glass of water and sit and drink it, and you feel the coolness going all the way down your throat and into your body and into your limbs, and you pay attention to the beauty of that feeling? Those are just simple Tao Te Ching type moments that I thought were pretty neat from that. The last book that I'm going to play a clip from is the next book. So Alex, the universe has your back. My dear friend and alumna Dawn Prophet turned me onto this book. Gabrielle Bernstein is one of my absolute favorite authors. Her life was changed by, she actually went down the path of extreme addiction to drugs and alcohol. and her life was changed by a text called A Course in Miracles. Some of you may have tried to do this course. It's very difficult. I've tried before. Someday I'll get through it. But she actually takes the principles of that book and really helps to distill it down to bite-sized pieces that help you. So let's see. Also, what I learned from her is that I never understood meditation. So you know how we're talking about how your thoughts create your reality? My thoughts were always, I don't know how to do meditation. It's too hard. I need somebody to teach me. I need to get a method. And then when I would try to control my breath and do meditation through breath, I couldn't breathe. I was like, you know? So I was overthinking it. Through Gabrielle Bernstein, I have learned very simple truths about meditation, and it's simply quieting your mind. And when you can't, there's some techniques. So if you're interested in meditation, you want to talk more about it. I just did a 21-day challenge with Gabrielle Bernstein, and have found some cool techniques that I really like that I'll hang on to. So let me play this clip.
Chapter 4, Your Vibes Speak Louder Than Your Words. The first few chapters of this book introduced the concept that your inner stories and ideas have been creating your reality. Now it's time to dive deeper into the practice of understanding how your projected thoughts and words affect your energy field, and how your energy field affects your life. A Course in Miracles says, there are no idle thoughts. All thinking produces form at some level. When you think positive and loving thoughts and use empowering words, you feel good. But when you focus your thoughts and words on lack, judgment, and separation, you feel terrible. Your thoughts and words can affect your nervous system, your energy, and really your entire life experience. Begin to pay close attention to how your thoughts and words affect your energy. Your energy is your greatest source of power. When you vibrate a high vibe, loving energy, you will receive high vibe, loving energy reflected back to you. Conversely, when you put out low level energy, you'll receive low level energy experiences in return. Therefore, your power lies in your ability to change your energy at any time to increase the likelihood of being the recipient of a high vibe, loving energy. Yogi Bhajan, the yoga master who brought the Kundalini teachings to the West, said, if your presence doesn't work, neither will your word. Being in alignment with your presence means that you allow the energy of the universe to move through you naturally. It means that you've set aside all limiting beliefs and smallness and realigned with the thoughts, words, and feelings of love. Simply put, your energy is a free-flowing expression of love.
So there it is again, love, central focus for my life, and hopefully a lot of yours as well. And as she said, that thoughts of lack and judgment and negativity, they're all noise. They're all noise in your head, right? It's that record constantly playing in your brain, and how do you quiet it? So if you quiet the mind, you can change your energy. So just for an example, the other day, I was preparing for a conversation, a very difficult conversation I was going to have with an individual in my work. Not just, none of you know them, but I was psyching myself out, and I was worrying, and I was stressed, and I was in my head, and I was just worked up, and I didn't know how I was going to do this. Then it hit me, Rina, practice what you preach. So I stopped my mind. I thought about what I was feeling, the emotions that I was feeling, and I thought, okay, what would happen if I decided to change those emotions? And I brought peace. So I sat and I was quiet. I went out to my happy place. I went out to the lakefront, and I sat for 5 minutes, and I did a technique that Gabrielle taught me. But when I quieted my mind and I listened, the answer came to me. It was that inner voice that you hear, your intuition. Some people think it's the Holy Spirit. It just depends on your faith tradition, what you believe in. For it came to me, and all I had to do was quiet my mind and change my intention. My intention was that for both parties, we were both going to feel very good at the end of this conversation because we're both good people. And then it came to me, and it flowed beautifully. so when I started meditating, and this is pretty recent, Susan will know this, and Sarah too, I talked about it for a long time. When I started meditating, I simply lit a candle and I had a cold glass of water, and I would start and I would drink the glass of water and I would sit for 5 minutes and I would just listen to the energy. So when thoughts would come into my head, I would try to clear them, but I would listen. There's a sound of energy and you can hear it. So that's when I started to learn how to clear my head and clear my thoughts. Next, I went out to the lakefront and I started watching water. And when you watch water, especially like a lake that has a little bit of motion but not too much, and the light is reflecting on the water, you see bursts of light that come off of the water. And if you sit there and just reflect on, just look at those and watch the reflections, you can actually see those light bursts kind of rise up as you stare at them. And if you squint your eyes, you can see the light coming to you. And I had never done that in my life before. And that brought such inner peace and joy just by being with the water. So that's another technique that you can do. And then there's something called Kundalini yoga and meditation, which Gabrielle had taught, where you quiet your mind by saying certain things. So if your mind is too busy and you can't figure it out, you just say these mantras and sit for 11 minutes, and it just truly helps. So that's kind of the story about that book, The Universe Has Your Back. She's got a lot of really great books. Her last one is a little over the top, so I didn't choose that one, but I really like it. So if any of you listen to The Universe Has Your Back, there's a lot more to choose from that will really change your life. So then the next two I just want to mention briefly. These are a little bit lighter. The Alchemist is a well-known parable that has actually been translated into hundreds of languages around the globe. It's a much lighter read. You can finish it in a day. And truly the message is when you want something and you're clear in the mind, the universe conspires to help you achieve it. And that the biggest lie in the world is that at a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's happening to us and our lives become controlled by fate. I believe that. So the next one is the Celestine Prophecy. This was actually recommended to me by a beautiful Stetson alumna and Stetson mom, Katie Pratt's. Some of you may know Jessie. I went to school with Jessie. It's a fiction book, and I really loved it because it tells the story, another parable, and a man journeys to Peru and discovers the meaning of life through 9 insights. And what I love about this book is that it has life lessons embedded into it. So one of them, this is just my last story. One of them is about being addicted to another person's energy. And this hit me. I was reading this at a time when I had started my relationship with my soulmate and husband, John. And what I loved about him was that he's such a positive person. And we had so much fun together. We'd laugh and play. But when he would get upset, he would go boom, he'd crash hard. And I would go right with him. I would go down there with him because I was addicted to his energy. And when I was intentional about it and I thought about it, that was the last thing I needed to do to help him, was go down with him and get angry because he was upset. I had to keep my energy level so I could pull him back up, and vice versa. So those are the kind of little lessons that it teaches you throughout this book, but it's a really crazy ride. And at the end, it gets really wacky, but up until the last chapter, it's a phenomenal book. So, okay, so those are my favorite books. Thank you for listening. I put this picture here because it shows pure joy, right? That's Antonio's little brother, Mache, and me at a wedding. And that's truly what I think life is about. And when we're not feeling pure joy, we need to really examine where we are in our life. And do we have to make some tough decisions about what's important to us? So that's kind of the theme of today. So thank you all for listening. Let's open it up.
I'll go ahead and start. I just want to say, and I know I have a couple other staff members on here, so no offense to any of them, but when I started working in the alumni office last November, it was pretty evident from the get-go that they talked about it. They warned me about it. They said, get ready. You haven't seen Rina yet. And I was like, what could that mean? Because I'm a pretty wild character myself. But from the second Rina walked down and met me for the first time, I knew she just had this wonderful, positive energy. And I was like, I wonder if that's just because she's meeting me for the first time and she's trying to be all like nice and cool. And it's been that way every day since November. Every day that I come into the office, like, you know, when Rina walks in the alumni house, you feel her energy when she comes in. And she brings just this positive, amazing, wonderful energy to us every day. And I know anybody that knows her probably feels the same way. But I can't thank her enough for that, because whether it's me going down and sitting in her office and venting about something that doesn't even have to do with work, I know I can just go down there and we can chat, and she's going to help me in some way, even if it's just giving me the positive energy that she has, and me going back and being like, okay, I think I know what to do now. She brings such great energy to us every day, and we're so thankful for that.
Oh, thank you. You know, I want to say that you're going to make me cry first, but that is really important. And I appreciate you saying that, because I believe that it shows that what I've done, the work I've done in my life, is working. Because 10 years ago, outwardly I was like this, but I was not happy. I was miserable, and it affected my son, you know. That was before we met Antonio. And imagine if everyone comes and brings their best energy every single day, what this world could be like, right? And I understand that there's difficult things that happen, and we have a choice about how to feel. Yeah, I see Brian going, yes. Yeah, I saw you nodding a lot, Brian. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I first thank you so much for taking the time to lead this webinar. We really appreciate it, and the title of it and knowing that you were going to lead it is what kind of drew me to it, because I love to surround myself by like-minded individuals, those that are positive thinkers and everything. And I had so many thoughts throughout, and that's why you saw me nodding my head a lot, because I was like, oh, that's happened to me. Oh, that's happened to me. When you briefly mentioned the law of attraction from The Secret, I had actually been practicing that while I was on the cruise ship in the cast as a singer. And then I kept telling myself, I want to move up. And then I was promoted to assistant cruise director. And then there was this opportunity where my cruise director's mom, unfortunately, got really sick and she had to leave. And this was my first contract as assistant cruise director. I had no idea what I was doing. And I had to step into the role of cruise director for over 2.5 weeks by myself. So doing my own job plus the cruise director job, which is the face and voice of the ship. And I was so stressed out, but that opportunity showed me that my potential was far greater than what I believed it was. And then after that, I believed that I can actually step into that role. So I started practicing the law of attraction, and I kept the little name tag. You're not supposed to keep the name tag, but I did. That said Brian Rodriguez, cruise director. And I posted it over my door because it was a little magnet. And every time before I would walk out, I would look at it. And then there's a little mirror and I would look at myself. I saw assistant cruise director, but I saw cruise director. And that's what I wanted. And this past, exactly, it's like part of my vision board. And lo and behold, I just completed my first contract as cruise director on the Viking Orion in Southeast Asia and Australia and New Zealand. Thankfully, I got off the ship in early March before everything went south. Had I been there one more cruise, I would have still been out at sea, stuck on a ship.
Wow.
So I'm very blessed to have been home. And also the Tao of Pooh, I thought that was very funny that you mentioned that, because I actually haven't read that book, but Pooh has always been an inspiration for me. I actually quoted him in my graduation speech back in 2015. I said, a great philosopher once said, a little thought or a little consideration makes all the difference.
Yes.
And I've always been about what you put out into the world, you receive, you know. So if you surround yourself with negativity, or you allow yourself, because happiness is a choice. Everything does happen for a reason, with some exceptions, of course, because you'll always have people that will tell you there was no reason for this to happen to me, you know. But you have to actively choose to see the light, to be positive. And I was so happy also that you mentioned something that you just look out at the lake. I do that on the ship when things are going crazy, when it's total chaos. I'll go out on the bow of the ship and usually it's around sunrise or sunset, and the light reflecting and the wind, it's an outer body experience for me, whether it's you're listening to your inner voice or the Holy Spirit, like you mentioned. It's just reassuring. Even though I'm out there alone, I feel like there's something, the universe is guiding me, and I'm supposed to be where I am for a reason. And when all the guests say, we had a wonderful cruise, thank you so much, that's my reason for being, you know? So hearing you say all those things just validates what I've been thinking and how I've been leading my life. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. And you know, when you were doing your job plus the job you had just been given, you had to do a lot of mental work, didn't you? So you didn't have that self-doubt.
No, I just had to go. I was running on fumes. I was not sleeping. It was insane. But you know, that made me grow very fast. You know, it was kind of like being thrown into the deep end and you either sink or swim, and I don't sink. So I swam and swam.
That's
and you know, they saw something in me that I hadn't seen, and I was very grateful for that.
I love that. That's exactly everything this was about today. Totally. We'll have to share books. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Hi, Karen.
Hello. Thank you so much for doing this. I really enjoyed it. I would say that one book that when you were talking about the books that you were sharing, one book that I read that really helped how I think is What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. I don't know if anyone else has read that, by Shad Helmstetter. It was recommended to me, and it just talks about all the thoughts that go through your head about yourself, like don't mess up, don't trip, don't spill this, all the negative things that you say to yourself during the day, or I look good today, I look fat, my hair's messed up, all these thoughts that are silent in your head. So that was a book that was really helpful to me, but I wrote down all the books that you shared, so I appreciate that.
Oh, great. Well, you have a beautiful spirit. Those of you who don't know Karen, her son Chris is a Stetson Hatter, and they live in Washington, D.C. So the book is What to Say When You're Talking to Yourself.
What to say when you talk to yourself.
When you talk to yourself. Okay, that's next on my list. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have thoughts? Danny?
Of course, always. I actually have
pick on the attorney.
I actually have a question. Could you talk a little bit about how you maintain your positive mindset and your positive outlook when you're tired and when the weight of the world is weighing on you and when it's so easy to just succumb to negative thoughts? What kind of exercises and what kind of things do you do to maintain, you know, the energies that you've built up through meditating?
I would love to. My husband just said spark or hydrate. Antonio will laugh. So I will say, Danny, that a lot of it was work that I did years ago. So I found my bliss. So I did everything I thought I was supposed to do. I was in the pinnacle of my career, but I was miserable because a lot of what I did in that job was negative. So like, you know, judicial, crisis, mental health problems, that I was the one making the decision if someone is well enough, if they were homicidal or suicidal. Think about that. Woo! That's a difficult job. So love your deans of students and your VPs. And so I made decisions because I wasn't a victim, I made hard decisions to get myself out of that and to go towards my bliss and then follow my emotional guidance system. So when I am down and I'm feeling the stress and the negativity, it's because there's something wrong and I need to figure out what it is, because it means I'm off course of what my true bliss is, right? I know it might make it sound simple, but if I'm really having anxiety over something or I'm feeling upset or angry, there's something wrong because my emotions are my guidance system. And so I have to just figure that out because I did a lot of work to get myself where I wanted to be. I have the perfect job. I have the perfect husband, the perfect family, the perfect kids, the perfect soon-to-be daughter-in-law. And it's beautiful because I got the stress out of my life. So I understand when you're at that place, because I was there 90% of the time in that other job, in that other marriage. Luckily, my son turned out okay. You know, and he learned a lot through it. He's very wise. But that's just what I would say is, when you're feeling that way, what's wrong? Why are you feeling that way? And go outside, go where you can find some peace and joy, and then intentionally think about, how do I feel? What would it feel like if I shifted this energy? Can I make myself feel joy and happiness inside right now? And see if you can feel it. You can actually feel yourself change. You can feel the physiology of your body change when you make that intentional choice. And then be quiet and listen. Listen to your inner being, to the Holy Spirit, to whatever you believe that voice is that you hear that brings wisdom, and then trust it. How many times have you all, like, you had that voice telling you to do something, you didn't listen to it, and you're like, oh, I should have listened. That's what I've learned to do. I've learned to listen more. So I'm certainly not perfect, but that's what I do when I try. Like the other day when I was worried about this conversation I had to have with a donor, and I got myself out of it by catching myself, going to my happy place, and then being quiet and listening, and the answer came to me. So I hope that's helpful. Does anybody else have ideas for that?
It's hard, you know, when you're surrounded by negativity or you're tired, like you said, Dan, it's not easy. You know, you feel like giving in and you feel like giving up, but like Rina had said earlier, happiness is a choice. And when you were saying practicing with intentions, I just thought about meditate with intent. You know, when you go into your meditative state, you're intending for you to be happy, to relinquish the stress that you're feeling. So if you take the time to purposefully tell yourself, I am going to be happy, I will smile, and I will be okay. You know, the more you tell yourself that, eventually you start to get that way. On the ship where I work with over 50 different nationalities. So there are a lot of cultural differences, and what one person might say might offend somebody else, you know, or the way they speak. A lot of them are Filipino crew members. Something funny that I don't know if you guys know, they like to poke fun at if somebody has gained weight. You know, they'd be like, oh, you got fatter. And they actually mean it so endearing, in the most endearing way. And then they laugh hysterically at themselves. And you're like, who are you? How rude. But then you're surrounded by different cultures, and you learn to appreciate that. You know, just like the Archbishop and the Dalai Lama, they appreciate their differences. Although they're completely different faiths and beliefs, the end goal is love and happiness. So if you meditate with intent, you pull yourself out of that, and you surround yourself by positive people like we have here on this webinar, and always have people that you can reach out to that you know will pick you up. You know, you're attracted to other people's energy. You have people that drain your energy, people that keep you neutral, yes, and people that will elevate you to another place. I try to surround myself with the neutral people as well as the people that will elevate me. I don't have time in my life for people that are going to bring me down. I try to bring them up to my level, but we only have one life to live, you know, and we have to choose to be happy and uplift those around us that want to be uplifted. So yeah, my little 2 cents is meditate with intent, and you'll pull yourself out.
I call those people energy vampires, the ones that like suck it out of you. My husband also said exercise. For him, that's how he, yeah, they're saying yes. I see Max Perez Duell on here. Hi, Max.
Hi, Rina. How are you? Good to see you.
Another positive human being. Good to see you. Thank you. How are things in DC?
Pretty good. Can't complain under circumstances, and I really enjoyed hearing everything you were talking about with your books. And I definitely need to think about. I want to find a nice lake or something like that, and look at water and the leaves. You know.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Thank you for everything.
Max, you naturally know this. I mean, you walk into a room and it just glows. So.
Oh, thank you. No way.
You need to get to know Chris Walker, Karen's son. So in DC, you both have that connection.
Okay, yeah.
I'll connect you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Alex, are we out of time?
We're pretty good on time. I just had really quick to piggyback off of a point Brian made, and it leads into a question I have for you, and I don't expect you to have an answer for it, but do you know how impactful your positive energy is on not just all of us here, but everybody that you interact with on a daily basis? And
that's for Brian, right?
No, it's for you.
Oh.
I don't expect you to have an answer, but like I'm at a point now in really getting to know you for 8 months now, and like when something good happens or positive happens to me personally or professionally, like one of the first thoughts in my mind is, oh, I got to text Rina, or I got to call Rina, and I got to tell Rina. Like just your positive energy all the time. I get that, and I'm like, when something good happens, oh, I can't wait to tell Rina because I know she's just going to be so happy.
Thank you. I actually do. As you get older, you become wiser. So I'm in my 50s and just got through menopause. Woo! But I'm telling you, thank you for saying that, because in another, like a few years ago, I would have been like, oh, no. But no, yes, I own it. I feel I'm in the flow. I'm in the flow. And I keep seeing signs around me. Things happen that I want to have happen. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know I wanted that to happen. I'm seeing signs that are blowing me away because I'm living in this energy. And for me, it's changed my life. And so thank you for saying that. But yes, I do feel it. And I do know that I have that impact on people. And which is, I guess, why I said yes to this webinar, even though I feel a little silly, you know, because not everybody believes in this stuff. Some people think I'm really wacky and crazy. And, you know, my analytical friends are like, oh, here goes Rina again, you know, right, Susan? they call me rainbows and ladybugs and
the unicorn of the office.
But it works for me. And so, yes, thank you.
Yeah, I have to piggyback off that. I find myself like picking up my phone so many times a day, ready to text Rina something, and then I'm like, she's got to be annoyed with me by now. Like, and it's just like this constant, like, I want to tell her what's going on. Or if something negative comes up, the first thought I have is, if I talk to Rina, she'll find some way to find the positive in what's happening. And, or like, how can I make this positive for myself? And when she talks about being present, when she was down visiting us at Christmas time, she was talking about like going to the lake and being present. And I have to say that part of having to work from home and having to sit in my dining room doing work has actually allowed me to be more present, because every day I'm in my office, I get so bogged down with work. Rina can tell you I'm a workaholic. And I now just have the ability and the, like, I don't know how to put it, but I find myself now more than ever taking the time to stop my day, looking outside and being like, I have this gorgeous view that people pay so much to see, wait their whole lives to see. And I like have never taken the time to appreciate it before. But I try to make sure I sit and look at it every day, enjoy it. And I even try to bring Rina in on it. I Skype her at sunset so that way she can enjoy our sunset together. Yeah. So it's been so positive having her in my life. And when we first met, I was coming out of a very like hard time, and meeting the Arroyo family, it allowed me to put fun in my life when all I had known is to work.
That's right. That's what they've done for us.
You'd be crazy in your royal house.
Thank you. Well, I hope that all of you are doing the same for people. I know you are. You're amazing people. That's why you're on here tonight, right? And I think that we can, in this difficult time, here's where I get a little crazy, but I truly believe that if we all put intentions out to this world right now and lift the world up in love, and in this, like Brian was talking about, this out of body experience, when you are feeling, you're so present with nature and you feel this energy around you, and we can send that to the world. The world is crying right now. I mean, especially our country, we're crying right now. And I truly believe if we all send that love out, whatever faith tradition you have or however you believe it, prayer, the more people who are doing this, we're going to heal our planet. We're going to heal our world. We have to. I mean, there's no other way. We have to. So I appreciate all of you for taking the time to think about these things with us, and having the insight and the presence of mind to slow down and to love. Really, right? What's life about but to love? What else is there? So with that, Alex, I don't know if you want to wrap us up or...
Yeah, I do want to be respectful of everybody's time, and I can't thank all of you enough for joining us tonight. I know we're all busy. There's so much going on right now, so I just appreciate everybody taking the hour to listen to Rina and then listen to me ramble a little bit. But I really appreciate all of you. I hope that we can all see each other soon in person. Hopefully, that would be great. But again, thank you all for coming. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you so much to Rina for, even though she didn't want to do it and she did want to do it, I really appreciate you doing it. This was great. And we did record it. I'm going to try and get it uploaded on our website soon if you want to rewatch it or share it with anybody else. But again, thank you all for coming, and thank you, Rina, so much.
It was fun. Thank you. Love you all. Namaste.
Thank you, Rina.
Thank you, Rina. Take care, everybody.
If anybody wants to share book ideas with Brian and I, let me know.
Cool. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You bet. That was fun. Faith.
Rina, I just wanted to say that people use certain things, and I just wanted you to know that I always use this picture that I have with you from Hatter Saturday whenever I needed to be reminded of happiness. I don't even know if you remember, but it's this picture from Hatter Saturday.
I remember that day.
Yeah, and I know you know that was like one of the hardest years of my life ever. And whenever I'm sad or stressed or tired, I look at that picture, because even like throughout how crazy and like upset I really was inside, like we are still smiling in a picture together, and you are a lot of the reason why I got through it and am where I am now.
Look.
So
You made me cry.
I love you.
Well,
I
and
literally,
you know what's so beautiful about that picture? Show it again. Show Alex again. This was you. This was you in your element, because you were bringing comfort to these families who are going into something that's unknown, and you're making them feel it's okay for their kid to be taken care of by Stetson. And that's you.
And
that's love.
I know, and that's why I love that picture, because it's like that was me, like in my element, like forgetting like everything else that was going on internally or like behind the scenes, like and I was there with you, like with that family, like I was helping them, like I was in my element, and now I get to do that every day, which is crazy, and I love that.
You were following your bliss.
Yes. Yeah. So you would say these things, and I'm just like, I just need to tell Rina that even if I don't talk to her all the time, I always think of that picture. So you're always in my mind.
And I was standing there looking on like a proud mama.